Welcome to the RCB podcast. This Women's Premier League, we bring to you a series of conversations with our women cricketers under the theme, It's Her Story. Joining us today is one of the most stylish left-hand batter. She is the captain of the Royal Challengers Bangalore women's squad. Smriti Mandhana, good to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Let's go back to where it all began, Smriti. What are your earliest memories of cricket?
Well, I think I started pretty early, which is very rare for like a girl from India to start. Maybe I picked up a bat when I was 5. Yeah, I think the earliest memory would be actually me going with my brother to just, like, of course, he used to play on leather ball. He's 4 years elder to me, so they used to tell me to stand behind the net so that I don't get hit. And then whenever his one round of balls used to finish, I used to just go pick up balls for him. Right. And towards the end, 10 minutes batting I used to get, and which was the most, like, I used to just look forward for that 10 minutes, 2 hours of just watching him around and watching like all the kids on the ground, and then 10-15 minutes that my time used to come, like where I was in the spotlight. I used to get like 50-60 balls to play on that day because I was pretty young. And yeah, I think those are the earliest memories. I used to do a lot of hanging balls at home. I think that's a really, I would say that's something which I never did because someone told me. It was like how people play video games or kids watch cricket, like kids watch TV. I think that was my pastime. I used to do like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 counts of hanging ball. I think that's like the earliest memories I have of my cricket.
How did you pick up the liking for the game? Was it because you had to wait and then only the last 10 minutes you get to bat? Was there a mahal where cricket is always being spoken about at home as such?
Yeah, I always I always joke around saying that maybe when I was in my mom's, I was in mom's stomach, maybe that from that time all I could hear was cricket because my dad is obsessed of cricket. He used to not leave any match, not even India matches. He used to watch every match on whatever is on television. Even like I have not watched a lot, but I used to hear so much of cricket at home that it was never a point where I fell in love or something. I always played gully cricket after school, like, it was just cricket. I just think more than cricket, I was in love with batting. Like cricket was like whole thing later on, but right. Batting was something which, like, I was those kids that I used to bat from both ends of the gully cricket, that limbu timbu kind of a thing. Like, I used to bat from both ends. So that I took a lot of advantage being a girl that, मैं तो लड़की हूँ, मैं fielding क्यों करूँ? मैं दोनों तरफ से batting करूँगी and all of that.
So batting itself is the sport. Rest of the cricket came later on.
Yeah, like later on, when I was 9-10, I realized that if I want to do something with cricket, I need to start fielding, start fitness. Like I used to bowl a little at that time. Then I started all those aspects, but otherwise it was just batting. I used to just love batting.
बस यही बोलना है? यही तुम्हारा है?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
The fact that your brother also played this sport, did that have a lot to do with you picking up the interest? And also, once he decided to pursue another route, did your interest spike even more?
Like me becoming lefty for sure has a huge influence of me, my brother and my dad, because of course I'm a righty and the only way I knew to pick up bat from watching him. So I started batting lefty. And I just feel having a sibling, like leave brother, sister, something. I think just having sibling who's doing something similar, it's always like a competition at home. Like when you used to come from practice, I used to wait for my dad to give me validation that, oh, you are better than brother, bhaiya, or, those sort of things. And those mini battles, just hanging ball, who does it continuously more times. I think that really, got me into that competitiveness. But yeah, once he left cricket, definitely everyone was a little sad at home that because my dad, especially my dad, I feel that he had invested a lot more of his energy in like cricket, especially his cricket, because he was older, nothing to do with a guy or girl, because always, the first child, they invest a lot of energy, a lot more, and the second is like, I just feel like the second comes about, like right. They just start doing things. That's how I feel. Maybe that's a second child thing. I don't know if you are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the second child.
Yeah, you relate to it. Like the
Yeah.
second child is always like, "Tu tera dekh le."
Left alone.
Yeah, you just do what you want to do. And the first child is always like a lot of energy goes into it.
The passion project is the first child.
So definitely, it was never that, oh, I have to do it now even more. I just felt like, yeah, maybe it's my dad's dream that someone plays for India. So like I'll try and complete it. It's not that my brother did not do good, play good cricket. He played for state cricket, and we all are really proud of him, the kind of cricket he played, and now what journey he has. But yeah, just for him to, I just feel that I playing India is equal to him playing, because he's been the biggest support for me.
That's so sweet. There is a very special bat in the Manna household. What is the story of this bat and where did it even come from?
The Ravitsa bat, yeah. Of course, I think my brother got it as a, just sign from him. I think they met somewhere, and it was supposed to be a memento. Actually, I was not gonna use it. I just was supposed to keep it. But it was such a good bat that I kind of felt like I should bat a little with it. And I was playing under 19s and senior state at that time. So I think the whole season I kind of batted with that. And I think I scored a lot of runs. Like my double century, I would have scored 6-7 centuries in that season with that bat. It felt for me at that time, felt like that Chen. I don't know if you've seen that movie Chen Kuli Ke Main Kuli, that Kapil bat. Yeah, for me, I had that as a kid. You get superstitious with bats. I remember it the bat broke after, of course, I played 7-8 months continuously, nets, matches, everything with that.
A lot of runs with it.
Yeah, so it broke and I was really sad. So I was like, "Okay." My mentors and coach told me it's okay, it's not the bat. Other bat, I got out twice and I was like, no, I need to repair. I went to the repair store. I got it repaired, and I again came and I batted with that bat only because it was in my head. So for me to get over that bat was like a year. It took a year. I am sure the batters out there who are around 15, 16 will relate to this.
Yeah, but it's amazing how an influence and motivation can come from absolutely anywhere, and it's great to see how it reaches to different corners of the country as well.
Yeah, and when I came into the Indian team as well, I think Juluti was someone who used to do that to me always. As a kid, I used to love her bats. I used to always have an eye on her bat, and then she used to always be like, "If you score, I'll give you. If you do that, I'll give you." And legit, I used to score and come, and I used to go in her kit bag and take a bat. I should not even ask her, I should just take her there. So I think that's kind of a small motivation, which I've also learned now that, I am in the different role. I also try and do those things.
Smriti, growing up and playing cricket, of course, required a lot of dedication and a lot of focus. And we are talking about the time when you were just a teenager. Did it require you to miss out on a lot of things, and did that make you feel like I'm missing out on what the other kids are doing? I'm not getting to live my life like a Gen Z kid.
To be fair, I never felt it that way. Cricket is my life and was my life even at that time, and it's gonna be my life pretty much till I play cricket. And I do not really had that feeling ever that I'm missing out on school. Of course, maybe spending some more time with friends, school friends, but other than that, I never felt that I'm missing out something, because I always felt that, this is a bigger picture. I want to achieve something in my life. I always had this dream that I need to buy a house for my mom, dad, and be it by playing cricket or studying or doing whatever at that time, because I wasn't sure of what I have to do. But I always remember telling my mom that, "Don't worry, I'll buy you a house." So I think for me, as a kid, as 11-year-old, only thing I wanted to was give my mom that the best life. So all these things, these emotions never came into my head that, oh, someone else is living. I really loved what I'm doing, or I really had a lot of fun doing that. I made a lot of cricketing friends as well, so not complaining at all.
You also tried your hand at bowling. How did that go?
Bowling, my action is pretty funny. So I think, of course, I started as not many know, but I actually started off playing cricket as a pace bowler. I used to feel I'm extremely fast at that time. And I was 12-year-old, and I used to actually feel that, oh, okay, I'm, I think, the fastest, and I'll play. My dad used to say, you'll play as a pace bowler. But as I said, I was obsessed with batting. I used to be like, "Itna bhag ke kaun aake bowling karega? It is so much hard work." I have so much respect for pace bowlers. So yeah, I think then of course in 2016 I did my ACL when I was bowling, and since then I haven't really bowled at all. But yeah, I do have a really funny action.
Clearly, your dad has had such a huge role in your cricketing journey. What about your mum?
As cricket, we always relate more to that, but you know, my mom was the one who used to actually, like, I started when I was in Mumbai. I used to not have whites, like, you know, the kids' whites. It's compulsory. She used to go cut bhaiya's whites and get my size done. So mom was pretty much obsessed of cricket as well. She was a huge Ravi Shastri fan. My mom, I remember she was going for an award of mine, and she met Ravi Shastri, and she just came like, she's like, oh wow. So yeah, she's also always been into sports, and she loved watching sport. So she has, I think, more than anyone in my life, she's been the biggest influence in my life to play, because she was really clear. She's a really strong-headed woman. She was very clear that do whatever you want to do. You do studies, you do any class, even if you start a class like a drawing class, or I have done my abacus and UCMAS, all of those things. You start it, you have to end it, and you have to end it like being at the top, otherwise do not do it. She was extremely clear with me with this one thing, that do whatever you want, that is your choice, but whatever you do, you make sure that you are putting in your all at the most hard work in that, otherwise do not do it, just for the namesake.
That's such a nice moral lesson overall as well, and something that you definitely live by. Smriti, you were only 9 when you were picked up for the Maharashtra under-15s, and you were 11 when you were playing for the under-19s. What were those moments like?
I don't even remember, to be fair. I was such a young, for me to come and to think about playing for India came in very late, when I was 14, 15. As I said, it was just passion. Just I should love sport. I should love batting, and I should just, like, I remember going into the trials also, I was very chill. I was like, हुआ तो हुआ ठीक है, otherwise है ही, मैं तो पढ़ाई में अच्छी है. Like, it was never. When I turned 14, 15 is when I was like, okay, no, it's just serious. Yeah, people are appreciating my batting. Something might be there in me, so I have to work hard. So yeah, I don't really remember a lot of things. I remember, like, I used to wear a whatever it's called, I don't even remember, and I was just this tiny, and now everyone was like 4 years elder to me, and I could just do is like flick and play a cover drive, and not much.
So the stylish cover drive started.
Yeah, I just had like two, three shots. I don't think I had pull also back then. So I just 2-3 shots. So I remember first under 15, my ball used to stop before the boundary. It was that. I was 9-year-old, so you can imagine, like, I used to play a full-blooded shot, and it used to just stop. Apne aap se to stop before the boundary. No one used to stop it also.
Right. So a lot of running between the wickets and hard work that went in. That's so nice. Growing up playing cricket in Sangli, Smriti, did it have the full-blown infrastructure that probably was happening in Mumbai at that point of time? And did you feel that, okay, at some point of time, I will have to try out different avenues?
Well, definitely I get this question a lot in terms of being not from a metro city, and not being from Pune or Mumbai, which are more easier to have a cricket access. But I have a really different take on this particular. The infrastructure is for sure definitely much better there, but the kind of facilities or kind of attention I got in Sangli, that I feel as kid, more than the infrastructure, is what you need is the attention, the more number of balls you play, and that was a real advantage, and that is something which I might have gotten also maybe somewhere else, but not as much as I would have got in Sangli, because I used to be the only girl around there at that time, and it was like I used to get a lot of batting later on. I was the only state player, so there's so much attention. It felt like the whole Sangli, kind of all the cricketing fraternity of Sangli, wanted me to play for India. Those sort of things that I just feel it just happens in a smaller city, because of course metro cities has that volume of players for them to invest in. So yeah, I think the kind of attention, the coaching I needed, I feel it's available at all places. It's just how much you want to do it. And the infrastructure bit comes in, of course, when you're 15, 16, 17, and then you need to, work on few more things, is when the infrastructure comes in play. But before that, it's just the basic stuff of cricket, and I just feel at that time you just need that personalized attention, the personalized people around you to take care of you. So I feel that is an advantage as well.
That's a very interesting take.
Yeah, and also I feel like, of course, the wickets aren't as good as you get in Pune, Mumbai, for sure. But that's how you're getting tested at early age. You're not getting flat wickets. You're not like, you get, sometimes there used to be people who used to play that Gola, that they throw short put.
Correct.
Sometimes they used to throw it on the wicket because it was not a cricketing ground. And then we used to play in that, bat in that. So it's like different challenges every day. There used to be, some day it used to be extremely wet, some day extremely dry. So I just feel that is, personally, I feel that is a better mental practice than anything. Now you guys, we can do a lot of mental exercises, but that is the most practical way of getting ready for any sort of surfaces.
Do you remember the moment when you got the call up to represent our country, and what was that moment like?
Yeah, I do remember that moment very properly. I was in Guntur and I was playing, I think, in interzonals. I don't remember if it was under 19 because I was pretty young when I got into the team. And I don't know, I have a defect of not being extremely excited or extremely low. I have some, I don't know, I call it defect. So I was playing a match and I couldn't receive the call. Someone from BCCI had called. So they called my mom, dad to inform that I have been selected. I had around 15-20 missed calls. At that time, 20 missed calls was huge for me.
An emergency.
I was just like, what's wrong? I called them back and they're like, my mom is like, my dad is like, hey, beta, tu India select ho gayi, all of that. And I just okay, nice. That was pretty much my reaction. My family, my coaches were a lot more excited than I was. I was just like, yeah, this is just the first step. I don't know, I have some, as I said, it's just a defect.
But that's such a wonderful thing to have, right? I mean, because
sometimes it's wonderful, sometimes you can't express, which is bad.
You considered it as the beginning of your journey.
Yeah.
Whereas for all your support system, they felt that this is what she worked so hard for.
Yeah.
And she's made it to the Indian team.
Yeah, true. And I think if you have the kind of season I had domestically, you kind of have it in your head that it's going to happen. And as a player, you know that, not this year, maybe this next year, but it's going to happen because you're actually putting in a lot of performances in. So my always focus was like, okay, even if I get into Indian team, I just don't want to be there for 1 or 2 years. So that's what I have some defect. I just that's the first thing which came to my mind was, okay, this is first step, and now I want to make sure that I win matches for India. So that's yeah.
Probably that's what makes you a good captain. Keeping very calm and centered and not really perturbed by everything that's happening around you.
Yeah, this is something which of course I work on as well in terms of expressing what I feel, because as captain, maybe that's one thing as well which I feel was lacking last year. I was not able to express sometimes of course being calm is the most important thing, but it's also important to express what you're feeling, what the team is not doing well or doing well. So yeah, that's a work in progress. I think I just go quiet. I'm just like, okay, this is how it is. So it's good for my cricket, but in terms of captainship, that's a learning thing which I am, trying and getting better every day.
Any player who makes a debut for the Indian national team is always presented with a cap. But you didn't get one?
You've done proper research. So the trend of course, giving the caps have become a thing now, and it used to just be a little I remember we got selected for a Bangladesh tour. It was a pretty young team. The seniors were rested. That time they told that these are not considered as international matches. So we won't give the cap or whatever. So we don't know. I said, cool, no worries. Next series, a lot of people were, of course, seniors came back, but luckily I kept my spot still. Because I did little whatever decent performances, and so we are at Sri Lanka. So I was like, chalo, this time though it's debut, it's a proper international series, all seniors. So I was waiting कि cap हो जाएगा. Then they told us that वो 3 matches में आपका debut हो गया, वो consider हो गया instead. I was like, okay, ठीक है, मतलब चलो अभी क्या करें. I think only test cap is when, and that too 8 of us debuted. So it wasn't even like I am the only one getting it.
Talk to me about the role of Jhulan Goswami. She not only is a mentor to many, but also happened to be your roommate.
Yeah, she was my first roommate. Back then we used to have roommates, and I was very intimidated by her because I've always seen her like bowling fast and like done a little research on her before that she's sweet, like she will talk if you start talking and all of that.
Oh, you did all of that.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Like your first tour, you go and you end up knowing that a Julian Goswami is your roommate. You need to like do a little. First 2 days, I was just quietly in the room in the corner. I did not say anything.
Such a
I was-
towering figure, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah, that's what. Like, and that time I used to have a cricket glasses. I used to look really, really innocent, and I was just like, so she was like, she used to always come. She's like, "Haan, kaisi hai?" Just talk. She's very nice, but I was very quiet. 2-3 days, I was like, "ठीक है, she's not that scary also." So I started taking I started becoming that junior where I'm just like, being a little. Then I had this habit of getting up in the morning, 5:36, and doing some knocking or something, which was very weird. I was a kiddo, and I was so scared. How do I do it when she's sleeping? So she said, "तू कर ले, कोई problem नहीं है." So I just took that one permission and I started knocking hard. She's like, "इतना भी नहीं बोल रहे हो करने के लिए." So, but jokes aside, I think she's just been a really support for a lot of youngsters. In terms of if we are going through something, just having that conversation. I think that's what she's always inspired us, especially at pace bowling till I don't know 20 years of. And we've always seen her work really hard. Always the first one in the gym. Those sort of things are something which you don't need to have a conversation sometimes, but those sort of things, if a junior sees, it's just a different level of inspiration.
बस यही बोलना है, यही तुम्हारा ऐड?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
Smriti, all of the cricket was happening on one end. At the same time, academically, you were very inclined. So, was it a big decision for you to not take up your boards and play cricket instead?
Like this was never a decision which I had to make. It was never a switch like I have to stop studying because my mom was very keen on like me studying till I actually play for India and all, like till I'm stable in playing cricket, because like to be fair, professionally women's cricket at that time wasn't like you wouldn't earn a living out of.
Not lucrative.
Yeah, you wouldn't like really. So my mom was like, you need to still like study, and I was decent. I was to get 87, 88% and decent at maths and all of that. So was thinking of maybe doing a CA or something if cricket doesn't work out, or chef, something into something. But I think the time there was a camp. I remember there was a camp which a World Cup camp was there. We were youngies, and there only 5 youngsters were put in that camp, and there were all these greats who were there in the camp. And I just watched them play cricket, and I was just like, I want to do that, and I want to work really hard to have all the skills or whatever they have to have it. So I think that particular day really changed. I forgot like I want to whatever. This cricket was the only thing for me then. Since then.
That's what you focused on as much as possible.
That camp was like the changing point for me in terms of just cricket.
Right. Of course, taking up BHM, hotel management, has come across a couple of times, and you've mentioned that you would rather be a chef if not a cricketer. Is that something that interests you?
For the longest time, I have done a lot of cooking classes. I still end up like my YouTube is all filled with cooking videos, which is rare for a cricketer. I think I love food. I love tasting new cuisines. I love trying out new stuff. I love that I've watched MasterChef Australia my whole life. I've like acted like a MasterChef judge. Like I remember one of the judge, George or someone was, I don't remember his name properly, but he was there in Bangalore only. I was doing my rehab. No one recognized. I was the only one. So huge fan. I was the only one going to it because I've watched so much of MasterChef Australia. And yeah, I think was always inclined towards the food industry business because I always felt it minted a lot of money. Somehow in my head I felt like you I'm a Marwadi at the end, somewhere I was like, okay, it's something. Of course it's my passion as well, plus I think a lot of people love food. I just feel food is a business where you don't have off seasons. Even if people are sad, still people want to eat. So that's something which I always had it. So yeah, that was second thing which I wanted to do. But my mom always said, see, if you be a chef, you won't be able to be a cricketer. But if you're a cricketer, you'll be able to open a restaurant or whatever. And I ended up
Ooh.
opening a cafe at my hometown, so which is cool.
That's forward thinking.
Yeah, but like my mom actually, that's what I said. My mom has usually like played a huge role in having that, for me, that conversations when it was needed. Like I was a little angry kid, as extremely angry kid. Like no one will relate now.
Yeah.
Like I was the only, like my mom and dad, if they had to fight with neighbors, they used to send me. Like literally, I used to fight a lot, but then
Ja
had
dekh
this-
le zara.
yeah, I was actually, I used to like go beat up people. I was like a really, I have like 3 stones on boys who used to not let me play cricket. I was like a really, like no one will ever imagine me like that.
Right.
Like, I will be like, a bad kid.
Yeah.
So my mom definitely, when I was leaving for the first time home, she was like, see, you've done this, but you've done this in front of us. But do not go there and do. You are very far away.
Behave thoda
Behave
sa.
well. You never know who will like take it to heart and come and do something wrong to you because you are just so away from us. So all these conversations my mom has had like really nice ones with me.
Smriti, 2017, big moment for you as well as the world of cricket. India versus England. The finals was lost in the World Cup. However, upon landing, do you remember the kind of reception and the kind of change that had happened with Indian women's cricket?
I think my memory actually isn't that great, but this particular moment, I don't think not only me, any one of us could ever forget. Especially that World Cup, the whole campaign. We couldn't win it, the heartbreak, and then whole slide. We all were really sad about not being able to. Like it's a close finish. World Cup would have been ours for the first time. We come back and it was, I think, 3 or 4 in the morning. It was very early morning or something, and there was like airport full of like 4,000-5,000 people outside. And firstly we thought, oh, what's happening? Who's like, there's some media reporters and all of that. We are not used to like as women cricketers, and we didn't know what's actually happening a lot in India because we were in England and we were like really detached. Like I was really detached with a lot of things. So, but the kind of reception, I think we actually got pushed back into the airport from the people. They had to like really make us wait, call more security, and then evacuate, whatever, I don't know what to say as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Escort you outside.
escorted
though.
outside, and I think that was pretty special to have that kind of reception, and especially not be able to win. I think that somewhere coming back, at least we felt that okay, wow, women's cricket has arrived in India, and that kind of a feeling was something which everyone, the whole team, is extremely happy about.
Cut to from the time 2017 onwards. Of course, cricket requires a lot of reinventing and falling in love with what you do again and again. But have you been consciously working on your power game, and how have you been developing it, Smriti?
Yeah, power game for sure. I think 2017 was the year where I saw like the most amount of sixes in a World Cup, and I was definitely really like stressed that okay, this is how women's cricket is going to evolve. Like 260, 270 in a one-day match at that time wasn't scored. It was being chased down. T20s, I remember we were like 170, 180 odd runs were scored, and again it was chased down. So it was like a big alarm for me that okay, like I definitely I do play at a decent strike rate, but this is not enough if we have to go ahead as an Indian team. And I remember going back after 2017, the only conversation I had with my coach was, let's get the power and the lofted shots going, because till then I used to be a lot more like
Going by the book.
going by the
Technique.
book. Yeah, like still I wouldn't say lofted isn't going by the book, but mostly grounded shots. I would score a lot of runs on grounded shot, not many aerial shots or something, and play at 100 strike rate, 90 strike rate, not like a big strike rate at that time.
Because it must have been ingrained to be safe. Somehow wicket bacha ke rakhna hai, and you still have to bring in the runs.
No, I feel mostly because at that time the scores used to be around that. I feel it just depends on the world cricket score, where one team starts scoring as much, and then you kind of feel an alarm that okay, they are playing at that strike rate, why are we lacking behind? And at that time, when I had that kind of a thing where we used to almost get 200 odd runs in a one-day match, women's cricket, then it massively changed in like a year or two. It went to 260, 270s when the alarms came in that, okay, this is not enough. T20 cricket was like on the front seat, and people were like, that was like an evolution for women's cricket as well. People were talking more of T20 cricket, and so I think I went back. First thing I used to do for the 2 months we had an off period. The only thing I remember we did was like lofted shots. We had like 50 markers, 60 meter marker, 70 meter marker, 80 meter marker. Of course, 80 I didn't reach a lot, but it was like starting very slow. First few rounds were always 50 meters. First 5-6 days, then 60 meters, then 70 meters. I had to like, it was like a
Challenging
challenge.
yourself.
Yeah, and my coach used to always challenge that bucket se itne ball idhar marenge to I'll give you a chocolate. It's just some
Incentive.
It's a
One-handed
incentive. It's a
incentive.
reward, and
Yeah.
a very competitive person. Like I want it. Anything I want to win it. So that way, I think that's how I had to develop that a lot, because it is not something which came naturally to me. Like last 4-5 years, of course, now I play a lot more lofted, lot more sixes. People feel, oh, just like it's just it's just coming. But it, of course, that 3-4 months, it was a lot about power hitting, and now of course with power hitting a lot more new shots which we have to add, like trying to develop few shots which comes, let's see, it will come good in maybe some time, like the laps, or trying to do a lot more sweeps. I am not a natural sweeper, so those are the shots which I feel you just need to keep working a lot on, because those are not really natural, but T20 cricket requires it.
So there's a lot that goes behind the scenes in actually developing it, making it happen, hitting those sweeps behind the wicket or hitting those lofted shots. You're practicing in and out, hours together, and then it gets executed in the matches, of course.
Yeah, and especially it's something not natural to you, it requires a lot of times. Like for me to actually develop a lap or sweep was how I would have started 15 years back to develop a cover drive. It was, even if you're an India player, you've played 8 or 9 years of international cricket, whatever, if you have to develop a new shot, you have to think like a beginner. You cannot think that whatever amount of cricket you've played, whatever amount of runs you've scored, you need to start afresh. You need to start underarms. Like that's the basic thing. So yeah, I think it's like, of course, a lot of hard work goes behind. Not only me, I think all the cricketers.
Your batting, of course, the way you do your cover drives, you get compared to a Saurav Ganguly or even a Sangakkara per se. You have your cover drive as well as you have your pulls as well, which are so very elegant. Were there batters that you would try and emulate when you were growing up? Ki you want to hit it this way based on a particular cricketer?
Sangakkara sir, for sure, had a huge admiration for him. Especially, I think when I was 16. Before that, I didn't watch a lot of cricket. As I said, only my brother, and not much of cricket in terms. I used to just play a lot. But once I started understanding stuff, of course, Sangakkara sir, for sure, I watched a lot of his videos. Especially, I think his cover drives. I tried that a lot, of course. That's not nowhere close to what he plays in terms of going down one knee and trying to play that. But yeah, I think he's the one. Even when I don't feel good about my batting, I kind of go watch his videos on YouTube just to feel good about, like, it makes batting looks very easy. And all the other left-handers as well. But I think Sangakkara sir was one for me.
I think your dad was right. Left-handed batters definitely have an advantage, but that apart looks so very stylish. So clearly he had a vision that he was going for.
And I think people do say that left-handers do look stylish, but I just feel they look different is why people feel stylish. People are just, of course, 80% are right-handers, and then all of a sudden there are few left-handers. It's just different, so we always like to see something different. Maybe that's why, I don't know. I just, yeah, maybe it's like only 2 out of the 11 are lefties. That's why.
Right. Smriti, the growth has been truly astounding, and I'm sure it's filled with so many amazing experiences that you have had in your life. But is there a moment where you had to pinch yourself and go, I can't believe this is happening to me?
But I think a recent experience on the first day of the toss, for sure, was a pinch me moment. and not as a Smriti Mandhana for sure, just as a women cricketer. Like, just to feel the kind of reception. Of course, we have had a lot of people coming in for the last 4-5 years to watch, but I feel that toss moment which happened was very unexpected. I did not expect that. After that, definitely I was knowing it's happening, so that I didn't react. But the first, whatever the reaction came was also really, I think that would have been the most I've expressed ever. Like, I was like, okay, what's happening? But yeah, that was, to be fair, a little pinch me moment in terms of like, wow, women's cricket has, like, this is a new level for women's cricket. Like, at that time I really didn't think about like me getting it or Smriti Mandhana. It just felt like, wow, this is a win for women's cricket.
Yeah. Well, being a local Bangalore boy and having attended many matches at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, that was the loudest cheer that we have seen at toss. And truly, you were right in the center of it, and people were chanting for RCB and Smriti. It definitely is a moment that you will remember for a long time, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the moments in whatever moments, other moments I have is gonna be definitely nothing to do with the performances or team thing. It's just a very special thing. I just feel, and everyone, all women cricketers should feel special about that, because it's not about me. It's just about like where 5 years back women's cricket was to where it was, and on that particular day was something special.
बस यही बोलना है, यही तुम्हारा ऐड?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
Is that a best compliment you've heard about yourself? Who did it come from and what did it do to you?
Oh, okay. I do have to think about it though. I'll have to think. Maybe I met Sangakkara sir maybe in 2018, and he was commentating, and luckily I got a 50 on that particular day only. I got an 18 ball 50 in that match which I was playing for a league, and I went to him, I'm like, sir, what do I need to improve? And he just said that, hey, you're batting so well, why you don't think so much. So it was a compliment and advice together. That was one thing. And sometimes when you're not batting the way you want to, and I remember my mom telling me sometime back, like, I wouldn't mention which match and all that, but that, I felt like the old Smriti, I was batting today. So that also, this is all small subtle things. I'm not a huge on compliment, but for me, the small subtle things makes a lot of difference.
On the cricketing front, Smriti, talk to me about the most challenging phase of your career and how you dealt with it.
There have been few, I feel. It's not like one which definitely, like, I just feel it's a roller coaster ride when you're choosing to be an athlete or anything, I think, in life. But of course, an ACL thing was for sure one of those. 2017 World Cup, last 6 matches the way I wanted to, the way I started the tournament did not end up like that. And a recent one, I think last WPL was, for me, I think a recent one in last 4-5 years never happened. Something of like 4-5 years I have not faced something similar in terms of my batting and the whole team performance. That I think was maybe a lot more challenging, like in the recent times for me, last 4-5 years. And really, I feel like those moments are the best moments. Like at that time, you just feel really horrible. You feel like, what's happening? This is the end of the world, to be fair. But I think 5 or 6 days later, once everything settles down and you just sit alone in a room, I just feel those are the moments which makes you a different level of person, a different level of athlete. And a lot of things have changed massively in me post the WPL season last year. And a lot of learnings, lot of improvements, lot of other kind of dedication. I don't know. It just kind of hit me a little hard.
Over the years, for the kind of growth and for the kind of performances that you've had, you have now accomplished yourself as one of the most marketable female athletes in the country. Smriti, how does the family and how do you take all of this in? Sometimes is it overwhelming?
You should come to my house to see that. There's nothing. There's no
Nothing
like that
can be
feeling.
overwhelming.
There's no feeling. That is only an outside picture. You should once if you come to I'll call you once for dinner if you're in Sangli. You will realize that how I have been. I get treated at home. So,
You still get treated just like the way you were. You still get scolded at home.
scolded for sure a lot. If by any chance I forget picking my plate after lunch or dinner as well, the whole home will taunt, "ये तेरा 5-star hotel नहीं है, घर है." You know, which is great. I love it. Like, to be fair, it's the best thing. And if I say I'm not coming for function, क्या बड़ी star समझेगा, चुपचाप चल, like, you know, that's that I get every now and then.
No place like home and no people like family.
Yeah, true that. And all my friends as well. Like, they never, my school friends and all. Few of my school friends don't even know what's happening with my cricket or what's happening in cricketing world. Not leave it all women's cricket. They don't know what's cricket, and they just like. Sometimes they message me saying कि तूने कुछ अच्छा करा है after scoring a century. तूने कुछ अच्छा करा है क्या? Instagram पे तेरा ही दे रहा है photo दिख रहा है. So that's pretty much my friends. Like, you know, they don't like have that thing. People come for photos or something. They are like, "ये पागल है क्या तेरे से photo चाहिए?" That's like.
That's how bindas the atmosphere is.
Yeah. It's never like, you know, they never have made me feel anything, which is great. I like it. And the people who make me feel like that is like, I feel I distance myself from them.
But does switching off come naturally to you?
Oh,
or
yeah.
do you constantly keep thinking about cricket?
I think switching off is the biggest quality which I have. I think I can just switch off with a snap. Of course, there are few losses which you cannot, but most of the times I can just switch off of a good innings, bad innings, whatever. Just once I'm off the boundary rope, I'm a different person. I'm not Smriti Mandhana the cricketer. I'm Smriti Mandhana the person. So that's, I feel I always like to keep that two personalities, like a split personality.
Give us a little sneak peek into the Indian dressing room.
Ooh.
Jemimah Rodriguez, is she your best friend?
I believe so. I wish I would have
have
said
to say this.
I have to say yes, that she is my best friend. More than best friend, I think we're just sisters. I think, from the time she's come into the Indian team, she's been my roommate for the first 2 years when we used to have roommates, and that's when I think this roommate thing really, you don't have a choice. You have to talk to her. Like, she's gonna kill me.
But you develop a bond.
Yeah, I think you develop
people.
a bond because you're at the end, you're carrying, some injuries happen, you're there for each other, bad form, good form. And I just feel like, of course, Jemmy is also there, and also other teammates. I think the Indian team at the moment is just like a family. Just everyone is looking to make sure that everyone else is fine. You know, everyone goes through patches. Even if you're winning, there are few players who might have not scored. If you're losing, how do we get ourselves up? I think it's very important to look after each other, especially in a team sport, and that's something which I think we all are getting really better, and we are doing it a lot nowadays.
We spoke about how women's cricket in India truly changed post the World Cup, and of course it's on the verge of exploding even more. The WPL, the first year when it took place, and your name came up in the auction. Where were you?
I was hoping the auction question doesn't come.
How were you soaking it in, considering you were the most expensive buy that happened that day?
I like, to be fair, we were watching the auction, and we all were at the World Cup, and we had a screening specially for the auction. And like, I remember me, Harman, we were all watching it together. At that time, it did not matter what price we went, what happened. We were just feeling that we won, like this is happening to women's cricket. I don't know how do I express that, because we've seen a side where we wanted to have a WPL for a very long time and trying to, get things going for women's cricket. And then, of course, to a stage where, like, we can hear the numbers, what have been, like, the TV rights are sold for this, the teams have been bought for this. And I was just feeling this is unreal, man. Like, this is such a crazy moment for women's cricket in India. And that auction feeling, like I'm not even making it up. It was never about what happened when my first name came or something. it just gave me goosebumps for everyone's auction. Like anyone's auction name, whoever was my teammate was coming up. I remember watching the whole auction with Harman there, and we were just like watching it for the next 7 hours, like not even thinking हमारी team में क्या है कौन है वो. That was like the afterthought, like maybe next day's thought. Oh, हमारी. But that day it was just like wow. We've watched men's auction for 10 years, and this is happening for women's, and that was a special feeling. I don't ever will tell you that that amount was great, this and that. It's all never happened.
Right. It was just great for women's cricket in so many ways that you actually could see how things were changing right in front of you to where you had started your journey from.
Yeah.
And this is a true moment that you definitely celebrated. What was the WhatsApp group like of the Indian cricket team? Was it just flying with congratulations?
Not really. We had a policy that because World Cup was coming, and
Right.
we had I think we had a first match was in, we were playing Pakistan or who, I don't remember, in like 2 days. And within 2 days there was an international World Cup match, and we had a policy that whatever happens, like there might be people who will go for a lot, might be people who might expect a lot and might not go, but that doesn't like come across in our chat, like
Right.
in our WhatsApp chat, in the team chat. Nothing. We did not. That auction happened. We spoke maybe 2-3 hours after that, and that's it. From that time, we just forgot what's happened, because that was really important to get us going in the World Cup, because sometimes people can be stuck with the things what happens. People value the amount what you get as a player, which is not right. It just depends, like auction, we've been seeing auction, it's a little weird. Anything can happen to anyone and whatever. It is not how good a player you are. It's just about a lot of things
circumstances
fallen into place. So that was something which was very nice. No one really spoke, nothing. Of course, my WhatsApp exploded by friends and relatives saying congratulations, but in the team chat it was just nothing. Of course, everyone would have seen the celebration we had for each other. That was it. And that after 6-7 hours we just forgot. We just were like, right, now it's World Cup time.
Gives you an idea about the kind of professionalism that's followed in the Indian cricket team overall, and it's amazing how you guys go about doing things. Smriti, your ultimate cricket dream, what is it, and how close are we to achieving it?
I think ultimate cricket dream of every cricketer, every Indian, not even cricketer, is World Cup for sure. We've been really close to it for a very long time. We've had a lot of heartbreaks around it. So to be fair, I think we are extremely young team, which is such an exciting thing. We have some serious talent, not only in the Indian team, but I have played domestic this season. So some serious talent which has to be unearthed. We've seen a lot of WPL matches which we've seen. So of course the potential and the chances are extremely high, but I just feel it's all about planning, and World Cups never come just by that one particular month. It's a process, and I just feel the process is right. So I wouldn't say anything further about it, but yeah, the processes which should happen has started, and it's in the right direction.
Lots of insights, plenty of learnings, and for a young cricketer to have achieved her dream to such scales, it truly has been an incredible journey. We thank you so much for sharing your slice of life story with us on the RCB podcast. Wish you the very best, Skipper. Thank you.
Thank you for calling me young. All of a sudden, with so many youngsters in the Indian team, I started feeling old. Being only 27, I feel old. But
You still have a long way to go.
Yeah, that's what I said. Thank you for calling me young.
Thanks, Skipper.
Thank you.